Part 3, the Wasp. I was suddenly engulfed in fear as the Kundalini, trapped in my third eye chakra, assaulted my nervous system with terrifying intensity. I became paralyzed by fear beyond anything I'd ever experienced. I would retreat to my bed and tremble uncontrollably for hours, my mind spiraling through every conceivable catastrophe, suddenly wishing I'd never stepped foot on the path at all. I overdid it. I overdid it. God, I overdid it. I'd blown my circuits. My Kundalini was now an everyday crisis. I was so much worse than any of my mentors' experiences with it that we started calling it Kundalini because it was so unique to just me. Now the inner child was emerging full force, and all the IFS therapy and healing sessions in the world couldn't help me. I bought the ticket, and now I have to take this ride through hell. To make matters worse, my entire life started crumbling apart again. Within 2 days, everything collapsed at once. The building's air conditioning failed for the first time in its 50-year history during record July heat. I got trapped in the sweltering elevator for 30 minutes, nearly fainting before rescue came. My best friend was hit by a car while biking and lay fighting for her life in the ICU. My SUV died completely, requiring thousands of dollars in repairs. Then my kidneys began failing, landing me in the hospital. All in just 2 days. Everything, everywhere, all at once. This is too much. This is too much. This is too much. This is too much. I collapsed on the floor of my place and wept, begging with God, pleading, please stop the relentless cascade of catastrophes. Is this the LCS doing this? Kali? Karma? What's the purpose here? What can I do to make it stop? Please, someone answer me. I gathered myself and decided to go with the Hail Mary, another psychedelic journey for a quick hit spiritual check-in to get answers from up above. So I reached out to an acquaintance in Denver who mentioned they were heading on a camping trip. And the next day, I was sitting in front of a pristine alpine lake, taking way too many mushrooms and hits of MDMA for a guy my size to handle in one safe sitting. I wanted to speak to God right now. Then, in the brief calm before the mushrooms and MDMA fully took hold, a wasp managed to sting me inside the tent. I screamed bloody murder as I pounded it repeatedly into oblivion with a flashlight. My friend laughed at me and said it must have been a psychedelic wasp, a mythical kind of wasp only found in that particular range of Rocky Mountains. I shrugged off that ill-timed joke, ignored the sting, and started pacing up and down the mountainside, feeling my consciousness dissolve into everything and nothing all at once. Every step felt like walking through liquid light as I spoke intimately with rocks and trees, greeting them as ancient friends I was finally remembering after lifetimes apart. The mountain itself seemed to pulse with living energy, each boulder and pine needle vibrating with its own unique frequency that I could hear and feel. This communion led me to a single tree bathed in a solitary beam of sunlight, cutting through the forest canopy like a spotlight from the divine. I suddenly understood the profound ancient wisdom held within this towering being. Centuries of storms weathered, countless seasons witnessed, the deep patience of roots drinking from Earth's hidden waters. I felt overwhelmingly compelled to ask this tree to take my pain. And as I pressed my forehead against its rough bark, I felt my consciousness merge entirely with its essence, dissolving into its timeless presence. Tree, what the hell is going on in my life? Give me answers. Nothing but unconditional love from and unity with it, but no answers. Disgruntled and realizing I may need a human to tell me what was going on, I returned to the campsite and was taken aback when I instantly started seeing the literal souls of the children in our group. They appeared not as the physical human forms playing around the campsite, but as radiant, translucent beings of pure light, innocent souls still untouched by the wounds and conditioning that life inevitably brings. I could see their essence as crystalline, shimmering energy fields, completely open and unguarded, like perfect prisms, reflecting divine love without any distortion or fear. Holy shit, this is what we are like before we are traumatized and beaten with concepts and identities, I felt. The mushrooms taught me that we come into this world enlightened, a truth all of my masters had shared. In that moment, I felt the clarity of this insight fully. It reminded me of what Christ said in Matthew 18:3. Truly, I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. In other words, the path back to our highest self begins with returning to the pure, innocent awareness we are born with. I turned to their mother, Christine, and began describing what I was seeing. She thanked me softly, and before either of us could speak another word, we looked down and noticed our hands were locked in loving embrace. It wasn't sexual or romantic. Rather, it felt like as if a piece of my soul had recognized hers, like long lost family returning, reuniting in this lifetime. We chatted for hours, our conversation flowing with an otherworldly familiarity. There was an instant recognition that transcended the physical realm, as if our souls had been searching for this moment of reunion across countless interactions. I don't remember why, but she, an energy healer herself, strongly urged me to read The Call of the Wild. It mentioned sensing strong Comanche Native American energy around me. There was some feral instinct at work in her words, tying her psychic nudge to what was about to slam into my reality. Back at the sublet condo I was renting, I collapsed onto the bed, still trying to wrap my head around another profound psychedelic trip. Then suddenly, the bedroom door, right next to a bookshelf, slammed open, despite all windows being shut. When I reached to close it, my eyes caught The Call of the Wild, jutting from the shelf beneath a framed picture of a Comanche Indian. What the hell is going on? This torrent of synchronicities and cosmic mind games was more than my fragile, already cracking mind could possess, especially as my thoughts spun into complete bedlam. I later learned that mixing psychedelics with active Kundalini energy is like detonating a bomb in your brain. But in that moment, I was on the brink of the worst breakdown of my life. For 8 unrelenting hours, I purged and wailed in a descent into absolute terror that defied human comprehension. My screams echoed off the walls as my consciousness shattered like glass, each fragment cutting deeper into my sanity. I felt my very soul being flayed alive, trapped in a nightmare where time moved like molten lead, and each second stretched into an eternity of unbearable suffering. Before committing myself to the mental ward, I decided to send Amy an audio message. Amy, 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 help! Is all I could muster. Luckily, she responded immediately and agreed on another emergency session the next day. I was starting to rack up so many of these crisis interventions that by this point, Amy probably had a special chair in the 6th dimension reserved just for my catastrophic meltdowns. Before the session began, I explained absolutely nothing about what had transpired during the camping trip, just that I was going to lose my grip on reality if I didn't find a solution to my energy crisis soon, and that I needed her to work whatever voodoo magic she could to help me ground back into sanity. Within minutes of going into silent meditation with her, a calming, angelic energy washed over me, and I snapped right back to. I saw a wasp penetrating your mind, she said without hesitation, and it entered into what looked like a wild, terrifying psychedelic funhouse. Just when I thought I'd maxed out on being impressed, she found the hidden bonus level. She then explained to me that the whole awakening process was one big, long, harrowing, and sobering process of shadow work.